Here's the chatbot user interface built with an open-source Python library, Chatlet, in case you are curious. Now I can start a conversation with the chatbot. Firstly, I'd like to learn more about this chatbot, so I ask the question, "Who are you?" Now it starts to stream back its nice self-introduction, saying it's an AI assistant created by Amazon Bedrock to help analyze and optimize cost on AWS Cloud. This is consistent with the system prompt we defined earlier. It also acknowledges that it has access to various tools or functions to analyze AWS Cloud pattern, cost history, and identify potential areas for optimization that we provided. Next, I'd like to explore my AWS usage history. So I asked the chatbot, how is my AWS usage for the past 6 months? To handle this seemingly simple question, the chatbot actually needs to go through a multi-step problem solving. It needs to identify the correct function to call, which shall be our guest cost usage history function for this question, and also work out the starting and ending date in our time zone from today to cover the past 6 months period requested by the user. As a large language model has no sense of present time, it needs to use another function to get that information. Here, as you can see, our chatbot is able to call the correct functions in right sequence, invoking the AWS Cost Explorer API to fetch the cost history, present it in an interactive graphic plot, generate its analysis based on all of the information, and briefly explain its thinking process for this task. Yes, as AI ML specialist, my AWS Cloud cost has been focused around AI ML services. Now it's time to explore opportunities to reduce the cost. Given my question, the chatbot decides to use get recommendation list and get recommendation details functions, and streams back its first recommendation with action items, terminating underutilized Amazon EBS volumes. After creating snapshots for each of them, there is an opportunity to save $269 per month. That number is very attractive. It also offers help to execute the action plan on the 15 EBS volumes across different regions and waiting for my approval. Before granting such permission, I'd like to understand the concrete AWS SDK command line the chatbot plans to execute. For example, how to create the EBS snapshots using AWS CLI. Now, as you can see, the chatbot gives me a detailed explanation on what it plans to do to create the snapshot using AWS SDK. As it looks legit to me, I would grant it permission and provide a sample EBS volume ID. Now, the chatbot goes ahead and executes the AWS CLI to create the snapshot, and return its status, which is pending. I could also get help from the chatbot to create snapshots for all my affected EBS volumes, then delete all the underutilized EBS volumes afterwards. In this way, I save myself from doing it separately. But for this demo, I wrap up and gratefully thank the chatbot for the nice work. It's been nice back to me too. Aside from the opportunity with EBS volumes, I'd like to explore more other cost-saving measurements. Instead of calling the get recommendation list function again, the chatbot takes advantage of its message history memory and lists out all the recommendations from AWS Trusted Advisor it fetched in the previous step, and lists out all the recommendations except EBS. The third item, Amazon S3 configuration, looks interesting to me, so I'd like to get more information about it. The question, how to properly configure the S3, is vague, but the chatbot is able to interpret the context that I'm probing for information on S3 incomplete multipart uploading abortion. It goes ahead and gets the detail for me using the get recommendation details function again, providing list of affected S3 bucket names, steps to take to configure them properly, as well as links to external documents. Instead of reading these documents myself, why not ask the chatbot read them for me? Under the hood, I have also provided it another Python function for it to surf the internet. Given my question for using AWS CLI to configure the S3, the chatbot returns the specific steps and commands to execute in order to abort incomplete multipart uploading after 7 days. This best practice with S3 helps to prevent surprising builds in our AWS cloud environment. Now that the chatbot has saved my effort and time to consolidate information from different segmented sources, constructed streamlined and easy to follow messages, and even took actions on my behalf with my approval to optimize my AWS cloud resources, I'd like to express my gratitude again for its excellent work, which would have took me myself ages to even get started. I hope you enjoy this demo as much as I do.